welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that's pretty crucial to the Saudi economy.
Yeah.
And that is the impact of remittances sent by foreign workers. We're talking about billions of riyals flowing out of the country every year.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
It is. In fact, our sources indicate that in 2021 alone, these remittances reached a staggering 150 billion riyals.
Yeah, it's a truly massive flow of capital, and it really does raise all sorts of questions about the economic and social consequences for Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
And the sources we'll be looking at today, including this detailed report titled Foreigners' Transfers, offer really valuable insights, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into it. I was really struck by the sheer scale of the growth in remittances over the past 2 decades. The report mentions that in November 2021, remittances hit a 4-year high.
Wow.
Of over 48 billion riyals.
Yeah.
What's driving this upward trend?
Well, there's a few key factors, I think, at play here.
Okay.
First, that the size of the expatriate workforce in Saudi Arabia is significant, and as that population grows, so too does the volume of remittances.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the number of workers, though. It's also about the economic conditions, both within Saudi Arabia and globally.
So factors like oil prices, global economic trends, even things like fluctuations in the value of the riyal can all influence how much money is being sent out.
Precisely. It's a really dynamic system where all these various economic forces sort of converge. For example, if the Saudi riyal weakens against other currencies, that can actually lead to an increase in remittances.
Oh, interesting.
As foreign workers can send more money back home for the same amount of riyals earned.
That makes sense. So we've established that a huge amount of money is leaving Saudi Arabia through remittances.
Yeah.
What I'm really curious about is the impact this has on the Saudi economy itself. Let's start with foreign exchange reserves. How do remittances affect the Saudi central bank's holdings of foreign currencies?
Well, every time a remittance is sent, the Saudi central bank has to exchange Saudi riyals for the desired foreign currency, whether it's US dollars, euros, or any other currency. And this constant outflow can put pressure on the central bank's foreign currency reserve.
And if those reserves dwindle too much, it could impact the value of the riyal,
Exactly. A significant reduction in foreign exchange reserves can weaken the riyal, making it more expensive for Saudi Arabia to import goods and services, and potentially even leading to inflation.
So there's a clear connection between remittances and the stability of the currency.
Absolutely.
What about the impact on GDP? The overall measure of the country's economic output. Does the outflow of money through remittances drag down GDP growth?
It's not as straightforward as you might think, actually. The impact of remittances on GDP can be what economists call asymmetrical. This means that a decrease in remittances can sometimes have a more noticeable positive effect on GDP than an increase in remittances would.
Asymmetrical. That sounds counterintuitive.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can you explain that further?
Yeah, sure. So imagine a scenario where remittances suddenly decrease. That money, which was previously flowing out of the country, now stays within the Saudi economy. This can actually lead to an increase in domestic spending and investment, potentially boosting GDP.
So people might spend more on goods and services, invest in businesses, or even deposit more money into banks.
Exactly.
Which can then use those funds to lend to businesses.
Precisely.
Further stimulating activity.
Yeah. Now compare that to a situation where remittances increase, while it obviously benefits the families receiving those funds in other countries. The positive impact on the Saudi economy might be less pronounced. Because that money is leaving the country. Reducing the pool of funds available for domestic investment and consumption.
That's a really interesting point. It highlights that complex interplay between remittances, foreign exchange, and GDP.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's shift our focus now to another crucial aspect. The labor market. Saudi Arabia relies heavily on foreign labor.
It does.
And this reliance seems to be at the heart of the remittance issue. How does this dependence on foreign workers impact the job market for Saudi nationals?
That's a crucial question, and it's one that often sparks debate. A large expatriate workforce can create competition for jobs, potentially making it more challenging for Saudi nationals to find employment, especially in certain sectors.
So even if there are job openings, Saudi nationals might face difficulty securing those positions because of competition.
It can happen, yes. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Right.
One potential concern is the issue of skill mismatches.
Okay.
Many expatriate workers possess specialized skills
Mm-hmm.
or training that might not be as readily available among the local workforce.
So you could have, for example, a shortage of engineers
Yeah,
or healthcare professionals,
exactly.
even if there are many unemployed Saudis seeking work.
That's right. And then there's the issue of job preferences as well.
Right.
Certain job roles,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in sectors like construction or domestic services,
Yeah.
might not be as appealing to Saudi nationals,
Right.
even if they're available.
So it's not just about the availability of jobs,
No.
but also about matching the skills and preferences of Saudi workers with the demands of the market.
Precisely. And this mismatch between labor supply and demand can have significant consequences for the Saudi economy and society as a whole.
Right.
It's a challenge that policymakers and businesses alike are grappling with.
Okay, so we've covered the economic impacts of remittances.
We have.
I'm also curious about the social implications.
Okay.
This massive outflow of money and the reliance on foreign labor must have some impact on the social fabric of Saudi Arabia, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about numbers and economic indicators.
Right.
It's about people's lives perceptions and the potential for social tensions.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll delve into in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned then. This is where things get really interesting.
It is indeed.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We just explored the economic implications of remittances from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But now let's shift gears and look at the social side of this issue.
Yeah, it's a crucial aspect that's often overlooked.
Right.
We're talking about a situation where billions of Riyals are leaving the country earned by foreign workers who are sending a significant portion of their income back to their home countries. This can create a really complex social dynamic within Saudi Arabia.
I can imagine, on the one hand, you have expatriate workers who are vital to the functioning of many sectors.
Absolutely.
They're contributing their labor, their skills,
Yeah.
and yet a large chunk of the money they earn is not being spent or invested within Saudi Arabia.
Exactly, and that's where the potential for social tension arises.
Yeah.
There can be a sense of imbalance, I think, among some Saudi nationals, a feeling that these foreign workers are benefiting from the Saudi economy
Right.
without fully contributing to it.
It's like this underlying question, where does the loyalty lie?
Yeah.
If a significant portion of someone's income is going to another country, does that impact their commitment to the place where they're working and living?
It's a delicate issue, and it's not about making generalizations or questioning anyone's individual loyalty.
Right.
But it's important to acknowledge that these perceptions exist,
Yeah.
and they can definitely contribute to social friction.
It makes me think about the concept of brain drain, which we often hear about in developing countries.
Right.
It's the idea that highly skilled individuals leave their home countries to seek better opportunities elsewhere, and their home country loses out on their talent and expertise.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, I think.
Yeah.
In this case, it's not so much about brain drain, but perhaps financial drain.
Right.
While the workers themselves are physically present in Saudi Arabia, a significant portion of their economic output is flowing out of the country.
And that financial drain, as you mentioned earlier, can impact the Saudi economy in various ways, from foreign exchange reserves to GDP growth.
Absolutely.
But let's go a bit deeper into the social consequences.
Okay.
Are there specific examples of how this tension between Saudi nationals and expatriate workers manifests itself?
One example that's highlighted in our sources is the potential for exploitation within the labor market.
Okay.
There are concerns that some foreign managers might be engaging in practices that disadvantage Saudi workers.
Can you give us some specifics? What kind of practices are we talking about?
Well, one scenario described in the reports is the manipulation of job descriptions.
Okay.
The idea is that some foreign managers might intentionally craft job requirements in a way that makes it difficult for Saudi nationals to qualify.
So they're essentially creating barriers to entry for Saudi workers, giving an unfair advantage to foreign workers.
That's the concern. And in some cases, there are allegations of Saudi employees being dismissed without proper justification, possibly to open up positions for foreign workers.
If true, that's a serious issue. It not only undermines the economic well-being of Saudi workers, but also creates a sense of unfairness and resentment.
Exactly. And it feeds into that perception we discussed earlier, that the system is somehow rigged against Saudi nationals, that they're not getting a fair share in their own country.
So what can be done to address this issue? How can Saudi Arabia ensure a more equitable and harmonious relationship
Right.
between its citizens and the expatriate workforce that it relies on.
Well, the sources propose a range of potential solutions, some more radical than others.
Okay.
One idea is to strengthen government oversight and enforcement mechanisms.
Okay.
This could involve conducting more frequent audits of companies, establishing clear reporting channels for employees to report violations, and imposing stricter penalties for companies that engage in unfair labor practices.
It's about creating a system of accountability.
Exactly.
Making sure that everyone is playing by the rules and that Saudi workers are protected.
Precisely. But it's not just about top-down regulation, though, is it?
Right.
The reports also emphasize the importance of empowering Saudi nationals to advocate for their rights.
Okay.
This could involve providing them with more information about their legal right, encouraging them to document instances of unfair treatment, and supporting them in seeking legal recourse if necessary.
It's about giving individuals the tools and the confidence to stand up for themselves and demand fair treatment.
Exactly. And it's about fostering a culture of transparency and accountability within the workplace.
Right. Another more drastic solution that's been floated is the idea of reserving managerial positions exclusively for Saudi nationals.
That's right. That's a pretty bold proposition.
Yeah, what's the reasoning behind such a move?
The argument is that with a growing number of well-educated Saudis entering the workforce, there's no longer a need to rely on foreign managers.
Okay.
By reserving these leadership roles for Saudi nationals,
Right.
it would not only create more opportunities for Saudis to advance, but also potentially shift the power dynamics within companies, giving Saudi workers more influence and control.
It's a fascinating idea, but I could see how it could be controversial.
Yeah.
Wouldn't such a policy potentially discourage foreign investment?
It could.
And limit access to global expertise?
Those are valid concerns, and any such policy would need to be very carefully considered and implemented to avoid any unintended consequences.
Yeah.
It's a complex balancing act, trying to create opportunities for Saudi nationals while also maintaining a business environment that's attractive to foreign investment and talent.
It sounds like there's no easy fix. It's about navigating this complex web of economic and social factors and finding solutions that address the needs of all stakeholders.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another intriguing idea that's explored in the sources.
Okay.
Using remittances themselves as a tool to detect unfair employment practices.
Now that sounds interesting. How would that work?
The idea is to compare the amount of money being sent back home through remittances with the declared salaries and job titles of foreign workers.
Okay.
Essentially, you're looking for discrepancies that might indicate something fishy is going on.
For example, if someone is sending back far more money than their official salary would allow, it could suggest that they're receiving additional income under the table, perhaps through illegal means, or by exploiting their position.
Precisely. Or, conversely, if someone is sending back far less than expected based on their job title, it could be a red flag that they're being underpaid or exploited by their employer.
It's a clever way to use financial data to shine a light on potential wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it require a massive amount of data collection and analysis?
It would.
How would you even begin to track all these remittances and compare them to declared incomes?
It would certainly be a complex undertaking, requiring a robust system for tracking remittances, accessing salary data, and developing sophisticated algorithms to detect anomalies.
Wow.
It would likely involve close collaboration between government agencies, financial institutions, and perhaps even technology companies specializing in data analysis.
It sounds like a logistical challenge, but the potential benefits are significant.
They are.
If implemented effectively, such a system could be a powerful tool for promoting fairness and transparency in the labor market.
Exactly. It could help level the playing field for Saudi workers and deter employers from engaging in exploitative practices.
Yeah, but of course it would need to be done in a way that respects individual privacy.
Of course.
And ensures data security.
Absolutely. Those are important considerations.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even the most well-intentioned solutions can have unintended consequences, if not carefully implemented.
You're absolutely right. It highlights the need for thoughtful discussion and a nuanced approach to addressing these complex challenges.
Absolutely.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've gone from exploring the potential for social tension to examining various solutions aimed at promoting fairness and equity in the labor market. It's clear that the impact of remittances extends far beyond just the economic realm.
It does.
Touching upon issues of national identity, social cohesion, and the very fabric of Saudi society.
It's a reminder that economics is not just about numbers and graphs, is it? It's about people, their lives, and their relationships with each other.
And as we've seen, those relationships can be complex and often fraught with tension, especially in a country like Saudi Arabia, which is grappling with the challenges of a large expatriate workforce and a rapidly changing economy.
It's a dynamic situation, and it's one that requires ongoing dialogue and a willingness to explore innovative solutions.
Well, speaking of innovative solutions, there's one more question that's been lingering in my mind throughout this entire discussion. Kind of what-if scenario that I'd love to explore with you.
I'm intrigued. What question has you so captivated?
Big bullet.
No.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of remittances, I think what we've learned is that it's a really multifaceted issue.
Definitely.
With far-reaching implications. It's not just about money. It's about how economies are connected, the social dynamics within countries, and finding that balance between national interests and global forces.
It's all intertwined.
Exactly. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
And never stop exploring.